Yeah, the side that you just tapped was fine, in my opinion. And then yeah, it's just that side I think it needs to come down a bit. Not like that. No. Okay, Peter Parker and Spider-Man 3.
Hey guys, it's Suva,
And I'm Amesh.
and this is our top 10 albums of 2020,
Part 2.
part 2. At number 5, I have Alfredo by Alchemist and Freddie Gibbs.
Oh damn.
Yeah,
I don't know how to rap because I haven't heard the album.
you waste, man. I've sent it to you so many times.
I know.
So Alchemist and Freddie Gibbs really come through on this album. I feel like they complement each other so well. The Alchemist has these really laid back, hypnotizing beats. He creates these gorgeous vintage backdrops that Freddie Gibbs just blazes over them. Like, this guy raps his ass off on this album, and I feel like the Alchemist beats, that they give him the space to have these sorts of crazy change ups and flows. Like, the flows are their own melodies, the flows are their own rhythms, and
Yeah,
he's just doing rap acrobatics all over this album. It feels like an old school movie, like an old school sort of gangster movie. It's very luxurious. Something to Rap About has a sort of buttery smooth sample that sounds like the Alchemist took a sunset from an island vacation, distilled it, and put it into a beat. That track sample is just gorgeous. It literally just makes me want to sunbathe. And I don't sunbathe. I'm brown. I don't need to sunbathe.
He's true. He's true. But we do need sunscreen, guys.
We
do need sunscreen.
Like, his flows are so nimble. They're so interesting. And another song I really like is Babies and Fools. It's a devotional song to the struggles that Freddie and the feature Conway face in their sort of drug dealing lifestyle. And this gorgeous sample, this All I Need sample, which adds to the tenderness of the track, because all across the album you get these hard-hitting tracks, braggadocious tracks. This is a sort of a very vulnerable moment. I really like the Conway verse. He talks about how he's struggling to balance sort of fatherhood with music.
So why is it number 5? Did it do anything wrong for you not to be higher, or is it just there are some better
I mean, at this
albums
stage,
out there?
it's like all my albums, there's nothing wrong. It's just,
Yeah,
was every track on point?
fair enough. You're making me want to listen to the album
Yeah,
properly.
you fucking should have.
My number 5 is Jay Electronica, A Written Testimony, where his first proper project dropped in 2007, and like fans of Jay have just been waiting all this time for this album, and it's finally dropped. And it's not what people expected. I think it came out like Q1, Q2 of this year. And it's just something nostalgic, yet so fresh at the same time. At the core of it is hits or notes of the Nation of Islam and just like black rights and life in America and the struggle. And Jay-Z felt like he just went back in
I can't
time.
believe he went this far while talking about this album without mentioning the fact that Jay-Z's on every fucking song.
Oh my god, I don't want to mention it because it sounds bad and it sounds
But
like
it's not. It's not. For me at least, Jay-Z adds to the album. Like,
damn, was he sick? Like his
he was on
penmanship,
form. He was on form on this album.
He was on form on this album.
Yeah.
And his rapping is like nothing short of like magnificent.
Yeah. Do you feel like he gets outdone by Jay-Z though? I personally felt Jay-Z showed him up a bit.
Right. So
On his
sometimes it
own
did
album.
feel a bit like Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
Like, so the fact that Jay-Z opened Jay Electronic's album is a bit of a iffy thing, but it's just what really stood out to me in this album is that just the narrative, and around it they've showed us their penmanship and their game, and it just felt refreshing. So yeah, the production was sick, the narrative was great. After learning about the artist and like, you know, his kind of hiatus and him dropping
he
this,
definitely has this sort of mythos around him, doesn't he?
yeah, so it's in my top 5 because Jay's in it. It gave me these kind of like Watch the Throne vibes, Batman meets evil kind of vibes, but just not. It's not any higher because they say stuff, but it's just like they don't go any deeper. into what they're saying. Like they'll say some surface level lines, which it sounds amazing on first listen, but then when you keep on going back to it, it's just like, but they're saying stuff without really saying stuff, and that hurt me a bit. But there are no tracks that I wanted to skip, and it gets really beautiful at one point. I forget the name of the track, but it's when Jay-Z is talking about people that he's lost and he can't call back again.
I think it's a closer. Closer is beautiful, yeah.
At number 4, I've got Tame Impala.
Oh,
The Slow Rush. So why this is like number 4 for me, or why I liked it, I guess, more than you. Kevin Parker, he's quite a confessional artist in his tracks, things he wants to get off his chest. But on first listen, I don't really get them. I'm lost in the disco pop sound. I'm taken away on this happy journey. But then when you re-listen to the tracks, you're just like, oh wait, there's sorrow, there's sadness in there, and it's hidden underneath these layers. I'm just like, yo, that's so meta. That's like wearing a smile when someone's just crying inside. It's been fun, weirdly to say, picking through these songs looking for his sorrow. I think at the heart of it is this album tries to capture some more happy themes than Currents did. Currents is quite sad. This kind of tries to see like the silver lining towards the end, which so it was fun to listen. It was fun to listen to. It was fun to listen deeply to get his confessions, and it felt like it challenged me as kind of a listener, which I like. But also, if you do want to be challenged, you can just play it in the background and work to it, because the production is just so beautiful.
My number 4 is Miss Colombia by Lido Pimienta.
Hey.
So this is actually the second Spanish-speaking album by a Colombian woman on my list. But that is pretty much where the similarities end. Whereas Kali Uchis' album was very dreamy and otherworldly. Yeah. This is very organic, very lively. I went months listening to this album, not understanding anything this woman was saying, and I was loving it because she communicates her emotions so well with the instrumentation. It's an example of you don't need to know the language to enjoy the music. She fuses themes of art pop, these grandiose instrumentals and vocals, these angelic choirs with sort of natural indigenous rhythms, sort of cumbia music from Colombia. When I eventually did go and look for the lyrics, I was like, damn, these hit hard. It's a story about her sort of rediscovering herself, finding her roots again, incorporating so much South American instrumentation really complements that.
I was going to say that us being diaspora, right? Just like this ability to fuse the new tradition we've born into and the old that we've come from.
The arrangements on this album are just gorgeous. The whole thing was produced by pretty much her and one other main collaborator, which just shows so much about her talent and her vision. My favorite tracks, I'm gonna butcher the track names again. Ese que tú haces.
That's pretty good. In my non-professional opinion.
as someone that doesn't speak Spanish, I thought that sounded pretty good Spanish. But Ese que tú haces, it starts off with this beautiful sample that plays again in the background. Then these heavenly choruses back her up, and then it passionately explodes.
It's really quite
grandiose. Yeah, it's euphoric. All this grandiose experience, and you can feel the intensity of this emotion. I think it roughly translates to that thing that you did, it was not love. Another one is Nada. It's almost like a tribute to womanhood, about giving until there's nothing left. She has this almost angelic crooning, these sorrowful vocals. It is just a very vibrant listen. My number 3 is How I'm Feeling Now by Charli XCX. It was a grower, actually, coming off her last album just titled Charli, which was sort of this grandiose album. She put out another one within months, and it's very much the quarantine album. When I think of quarantine, I think of this album. I felt like on her last album, Charli, she had hyperpop, distortion, and this pop sound, and she had it together in the album, but didn't often meld as well. Here, I feel like she struck a perfect balance. She's got collaborators like A.G. Cook on there and 100 gecs to craft this
metallic, bro. Just the sound was like metallic. Just like the sounds, like when you say future pop, all that comes to my mind is like this kind of metallic.
But unlike her last album, Charlie, it's a bit more stripped back, and it's a lot more lonely, and at times it actually feels claustrophobic, which I love. Forever is a great example of that. It has this really distorted claustrophobic synths that sort of smother her sugary sweet vocals, and this contrast, it's almost ethereal but tinged with this loneliness. Credit to Charlie, she manages to create these really catchy pop hooks, but I think what really brings me over is the production. It just, at times, it's mind melting. So I kind of missed the grandiosity of the last album at first, but now I think I prefer this album. It's a lot more tight. It's such a cohesive experience. It flows so well. Yeah,
it knows what it is. It's clear.
Yeah, I feel like the pacing of this album is beautiful. It may be in terms of pacing, my favorite album of the year.
Number 3.
Oh my god!
Number 3 is Pa Salieu. Send Them to Coventry. A drill album made it. A drill album made it onto my top 10.
Yeah, I don't know if it's all drill though. It's
not drill though. That's why it's on my top 10. He came into early success this year because he released one of the tracks on the album as a single, Frontline. Pa Salieu draws on from his kind of West African influences in music, similar to what J Hus does. And nothing he says is new, but the way he captures the scene, these kind of like just time-old stories, it's invigorating. It's new, and it makes you just want to look at the story and hear what he's saying.
So what would you say the sound of this album is?
Dancehall, it's rap, it's a bit of like R&B, it's a bit of like grime, drill, all put in there, and it's just this kind of it's just culture, mate. It's just culture, and how he differentiates from other like drill artists or like grime artists is like his ability to come in and out of rap and kind of sing, because he's got a really nice voice as well. So he can be menacing at one part of song, and then in the chorus dip into his. And a lot of people do compare him to J Hus. I'm just like, yeah, that's the perfect person to kind of compare him to, but he has enough to be distinguished as his own thing. At one point through the album, he flips the vibe from being this harsh reality he's talking about. He starts talking about the brighter things and like what he's trying to aim towards. Like he doesn't want this to be his life. He's trying to change his circumstance, and that's when you get like the beautiful like track like Energy, which he ends the album with. It's just such a good message. Trying to keep your head up, protect your energy, do your thing. It's all right, things will get better.
It feels like a melting pot to me of everything that's sort of popping right now in London right now. If you ask me what are people listening to right now, all the influences have been put into this album. There's just
exactly that,
and he melds them really nicely. It's not just like, oh, here's the Afrobeat song. Okay, here's the one for the drill fans. It's
dancehall, it's Afrobeat, it's everything just put together, and exactly as you said. And you just serve this nice stew, which is Send Them to Coventry.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna stick by that.
So for number 2, we both have RTJ4. We've already gushed over it so much. It's it's hardcore.
Check out older video. That's our first video.
Yeah. So this hardcore, in your face, socio-political sound. And these guys are rapping, as I've said before. Yeah. I found it harder to come back to than some albums because it's so intense. It's so powerful.
It's so immersive. It's so...
Exactly. I found it hard to just dip in and out of.
It's because its roots are so strong. Like if you listen to it, you're gonna feel a set
I
of
have
things
to listen to
and
the
you're
whole
not.
way, and now
Yeah,
I'm angry, and I don't want to be angry at like 6:30 on my way to work.
yeah.
That's not good. I was listening again today, and I was like, "Damn, it's just such an intense listen." It's just
It's
like
all
the
these like
tracks that
hard hit.
banged before still bang, and if anything, the tracks that I
Oh, mate.
wasn't as big a fan
Yeah,
of, they still
yeah.
bang.
Every time I listen to Yankee and the Brave, I'm just like,
Yeah,
I'm literally restarting a movie which I love,
yeah.
and I'm just like, I'm ready to enjoy the ride again.
Yeah. You know
I'm
what's
ready
growing
to
on me
hear.
even more? The outro, the saxophone, the build up.
The energy. It's the perfect climax. There's nothing else. We either do something now, or I'm gonna blow everyone up. Kind of vibe.
Yeah.
It's such a statement album,
Mm. It's so
and
powerful.
yeah, and by no means is it number two for any kind of negative reason, because the production is amazing, the
Mm.
message is amazing, the features are amazing. But it's if you're in, you have to be all in.
Yeah, you can't just listen to Walking in the Snow without being drawn in. And that is both a strength but also makes it,
It's just Achilles heel.
yeah. I wouldn't go as far as saying it's an Achilles heel. I wouldn't say it's a huge weakness, but it's why it's number 2 for me. Just because I ain't listening to this all the time. I'm just not that mad. I'm just not that mad, man.
Just like everywhere, the Hey Arthur fist. It's number 2 for me because the album which I do have at number 1, I think it's a masterpiece.
Our number 1 album
Of 2020 is
After Hours. Full disclosure, we were doing this video and Umesh started talking about this album as his number 2, and he changed his mind.
the more I talked about it, the more I realized how much I like this album.
Yeah.
And
And then he just changed it. And he's like, "That's my number 1 now."
That's my number 1.
I think.
I changed my mind. This is my number 1 album. The more I think about it, the more it just seems so right.
I mean, you have The Weeknd, right? He needs no introduction.
Yeah.
He is probably one of the most influential artists of the last decade.
Decade,
You
for
know,
sure,
when he
for
sort
sure.
of came into the scene with House of Balloons, he had this wave of, airy, alternative, dark R&B follow him, and
Yeah.
not just R&B, but pop music in general. To say that this is as good as that, I think it's quite similar, but I honestly feel this is his most realized, most cohesive work to date, and he's fully developed a new sound. I love this mix between his original alt R&B sound
With this new kind of like synthy 80s pop vibe, which he feels so confident in.
He it's not like a shallow rendition of the 80s. He doesn't just
It's like he lived it. It's like he.
it's like from the sax solos to all the toms. It's just he is fully enveloped in the sound, and he has made it his own. I feel like this is the sound he was kind of trying to achieve on Starboy, but just couldn't quite land. I feel like that's been fully realized and fully developed.
And he's got this singular vision like throughout. Like he knows what he wants to say and what he wants to portray, and the story he wants to tell you.
Yeah, he's got this character he's spiraling into madness almost from the loss, and I think the character that he portrays on this album is so fully realized. Not just the music videos, but just the music itself.
The subject matter he's talking about at the start, it's not anything new. Like it's about him talking about these failed relationships that don't.
Yeah, there's still that classic toxic masculinity, but it's
drugs and sex.
Yeah, but it has a sense of maturity to it. Now he's like, it's me, I'm the problem.
He's struggling with that. He's struggling to kind of reconcile with the sins that he's done.
One of the songs, Faith, where he's like, I want to OD with you right beside me, just shows he has this almost sickening view of love. He knows it.
He's sitting in his filth as opposed to throwing it around.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Yeah.
and he's owning it. He's owning it. Yeah.
Yeah. The vocal performances he gives on this album, they're just, heart-wrenching. I think it's Scared to Live. Like, you can tell he's really pulling from deep inside. And what I find really impressive with this album is basically no features. it's just him for like an hour,
Yeah.
and he carries it. He does not need features.
You don't get bored at all. The way each track's just been thought of to link into each other, so so the journey isn't disrupted. There isn't a point where you feel like I'm waiting for the next track. It's like, oh, I'm in the next track.
Yeah,
Because it has like little sonic footprints everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's just heart wrenching at the end. Similar to RTJ4, where it climaxes to the point where it's like, what next? Yo, I'm gonna do it. Like, this is also what next? I've given everything. What do I do now? And you're kind of left on a cliffhanger. It's all right that he didn't win a Grammy. He's won the top spot on our list.
Oh my days. The highest honor.